generation sort of means like somebody gets what? Born, right? Now what happens when a woman has a baby? Her stomach gets a little bit bigger, right? Yeah. Just a little bit bigger, right? Just a tiny bit bigger. Okay. And then she has a baby, and then her stomach goes away because the baby's outside, right? So this is what we're going to do for generations. Okay? Now I think we probably should stand, but you can also sit to do this too, okay? We're going to start off standing just so you can see it well. Okay? So we're standing up first. Okay? Now let me take my little yellow hoodie off so you can really see this. Okay. Now everybody shake a little bit just so that you can be ready to do this because it's really going to be hard. Okay, shake a little bit. Okay. Shake a little bit. Oh man, you have to shake a little bit. You're not shaking it. You're not shaking it. You're shaking like you're crazy people. Now we're all shook. Like, who knows who Elvis Presley is? That's fine. Okay, anyway. Have you ever seen the words all shook up? You know what I mean. Anyway, so, generations. Generations. Okay? Generations. Okay? Because that means the woman has a baby. And it generates. Okay? So, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Generations. Okay? Now, Mrs. Squires is one generation. Connor's her son. He's another generation. So, depending on how you look at it, this is 2 generations. So, if you're doing 2 generations, how would you do it? You would do this 2 times. So Connor is 2 generations from his mother. So we would say for Connor, we would go generation. Right?
I have
Generation.
2 brothers and 1 sister.
But that's still 1 generation because you're all the same generation. Now if you had your grandma here or your grandpa, something like that, that would be, from you, that would be 3 generations. So how would you do that? Generations. Very good. Very good. Okay. Very good. All right. Now, before we go any further, we're going to go over the 3 things, the 3 words we know. Okay. So, what's the first word we know? Genealogy. Okay. We're going to sit back down for that one. Otherwise, it's like you fall into the ground. Exactly. Very good. Very good. You really want to start high. Very good. See this young lady right here? What's your name? What's your name? Anna. She has to count because you always want to count because it's always better when you do it together, you know, so people understand what's going on. So you want us to do it at 2, Anna? Because you had 2 fingers up. Okay, Anna wants us to do it at 2, so we're going to do it at 2, okay? Here we go. Here we go. So Anna, you lead us. You're going to lead us and count to 2. What? Hannah. Okay, so Hannah. Okay, so we're going to count to 2, okay, and you're going to lead us.
1, 2, 3.
Very good, very good, very good. Okay, now what's the next word? Archives. You want to do a Wolf Point? What's your real name? What's Sebastian? Okay, because your shirt says Wolf Point. Okay. It says Wolf Point. Okay. Okay, so what number do you want us to use, Sebastian?
3.
3. Okay, so you're going to count us out.
1, 2, 3.
Archives. Do you want to do archives or genealogy? No, that's Sebastian. We're asking Sebastian.
Archives.
Okay, Sebastian wants to do archives. Okay, so here we go. You're going to count us out.
1, 2, 3.
Archives. Very good. Okay, what's the 3rd word? What's the 3rd word? All right, okay. Okay, young lady right there? Yes. Jane? Okay. What number do you want us to do this on? 3. Okay. And what word are we doing?
Archives.
Oh, you want to do archives again? Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Archives. Okay, now now we're going to do generations. Who wants to lead us in generations? Okay, way in the back there.
Caleb.
Caleb? Okay, so we're going to do generations, right? Okay, what count do you want us to do it on?
1.
Oh my goodness. All right. All right. We're going to go right for it then. Okay, let me remember myself. Okay. Okay. All right, Caleb, we're ready. Go ahead.
1.
Generations. All right, excellent. Very good. Clap, everybody. Very good. Very generation. Okay, we're going to start because we're going to talk about what? Generations.
I can do it from here.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to review a little bit so you are really ready when your special friends and your grandparents come next week. So the first thing when we came and we talked about family tree, if you guys remember, you did a wonderful project where you made part of your family tree, a branch of your family tree. So let's talk about who was on your family tree. Does anyone remember who was on that branch? Yes, it's here.
My mom, my dad, and I act like I do my gods. And
Okay, so can you go to the next slide, please? So, right, well, there'll be more chances to talk in just 1 second. So the first thing you did was you did a branch of your immediate family. Those were pretty much the people that lived in your household. We talked about you and your parents, your step-parents perhaps, and your siblings, and pets. Some of you put pets on there because they're certainly parts of our family and our household. So that's one branch of your family tree. But remember when we talked, we said that there are other branches of your family tree, correct? Okay, so who might some of the other people be on other branches? Chris? Your hand up back there.
my great grandmother.
Right, that would be a whole other branch of your family tree. Does anybody else have any guesses? Jeffrey?
My brother, my dad, and my mom, and me.
Right, those are all people on that immediate branch of your family tree.
But I didn't have my fish that time.
And your fish would be on there too.
But I
And
didn't have my fish that time.
you didn't have your fish at that time. But now your fish is on the family tree? Yes.
I mean, no.
No. Okay, Sailor, do you have some other guesses of who could be on your family tree?
My dog, my fish,
Right, absolutely.
my cat, and my mom and dad.
Right. Okay, one more person. Joey?
My sister, Coco, my mom, my dad, my brother, and my other.
Right. Okay, so Chris gave us some tips, though, that your other branches of your family tree would include more than just your immediate family. Can we go next, please? So those could be people like your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles. Those would be sisters and brothers of your parents, right? They're on your family tree. People who have cousins, those would be children of your aunts and your uncles. They're on your family tree. And then we call them the greats. The greats are people who are like your great-grandparents, like Chris said. You can have great aunts and great uncles. You can have first, second, third cousins. And we have also talked about the fact that you have special friends or special people in your life that may not be part of your what we call family line, which means they may not be someone who was born into your family, but they're still just as special to you. Those could be people like step-parents, they could be godparents, they could be guardians, they could be your caregivers. Some of you guys might have nannies or caregivers. They're just as important to you as your family. Or family friends, people that your parents have known for a long time. They all are special people that might be on your family tree. Okay? Can we go to the next slide? We'll have time for questions. Just a second. Okay.
Now, what this is, remember what we did for the family tree, what we used to put names on? We sort of had pieces of paper that we had cut into circles, and then we were trying to put down either your name or something, or just a picture of yourselves, like 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth, okay? This is something that's out there that you guys can use for yourselves, for your parents, for your grandparents, for your great-grandparents, for anybody else in your family. This is just a chart. And I think that we've given that to your teachers and also that you guys will be able to get a copy of this and you can use this in the future. And the way it works is really just really pretty easy. It's kind of hard for you to see it here, but on the paper you'll see it better. When you get this chart, you're going to put down your name, or you just put down a little picture representing you, and then above that you're going to put your mom's name, your daddy's name, and then you're going to go all the way up that chart. And before you know it, you're going to get all the way to the top. And so that's going to be, as far as this new word we came up with today, what was the new word we came up with today?
Generation.
Right, generation. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations, if you guys can fill this chart. And you may not be able to, which is fine, but you just hold on to it. And just remember, every single line there is a new generation, and you're the first one. Vanna White, please.
Here we go.
Okay. And this is just something that sort of represents, again, what generations are. This represents how many generations? This is the daughter, the mother, the grandmother, the great-grandmother. How many generations would that be?
4.
Very good, very good. 4 generations. And that's what it's saying. You would be the first generation, the parent is the second, grandparents the third, and the great-grandparent is the 4th generation. Okay, next one.
Okay, this is just another way that we're showing you how the different generations line up, and it's a way that there are people who do research on their family histories, and you wouldn't believe some of the family history charts we've seen at the archives. They can go back for, I don't even know what the biggest one I've seen, maybe 50 or 60 generations. They can be enormous. So how, if you would ever want to start doing this or talking to your family, here's an example. You, your brother, you, your sister, and your brother, and all your cousins. Remember, those are the people, they are the children of your mom or dad's brothers or sisters. You are all on the same generation. So you would consider yourself, when you start your family tree, the first generation. And all of these people would be on the same line. You could have 2 cousins, you could have 50 cousins. Some people have lots of cousins. Absolutely. And you know what the beauty of it is? The best part is you can have so many generations, can have an unlimited number of people. You can have as many cousins as you have. There's no right or wrong number.
And you know what happens when you have all these cousins and you try to remember them all? You can get dizzy. It's crazy. You can get really,
Oops.
you get really dizzy, especially if you have 1,000 or 200.
That's
You
okay.
get really dizzy. So I just want you to show how dizzy you can get.
Yeah, here.
How could you get dizzy just that?
Because sometimes it's hard. Some people's families are so big, or they can be spread out across the country or across different countries, that it takes a lot of work to track them. And so that's why we've come to talk to you about how important it is to talk to your families and learn about all your generations, because the easiest way to do it is by talking to family. That's the very easiest way. You can do it by tracking documents and artifacts and archives like we talked about before, but the #1 easiest step you can do is just speaking to your family. I think we're ready now. Okay, so now we've talked about all these different branches on your family tree. We've talked about all the different generations that make up different branches. So why do you think it's important to know about your generations? Does anybody have any suggestions or guesses? Why is it important to know about your family, to talk to them? Does anybody have any thoughts? What might you learn from them? That's okay. Well, they might be fun people. I mean, that's the first easy answer. Who here likes to spend time with their family? Yeah. So having fun, that's good. Does anybody have any other thoughts about what you might learn? No? Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi. You've got
Because it gets dizzy. That's right. You forget. There's so much to remember. Anybody else?
Okay, well, let's go to the next one and see if we can figure out what we might learn, why we might want to know about our family generation. Okay. What you might learn is about something we call your heritage. And we talked a little bit about this before when we talked about archives and your personal archives. Remember how we discussed when you bring in something that's in your personal archives, and I saw your all's presentations, your teachers were kind enough to send them to me, and I learned so many things about your family by watching your presentations. And people brought in special statues, and they brought in special pictures, and I learned a lot by what you shared with me. And that's what it's all about. When you talk to your generations, you talk to your family members, you learn about your heritage. And what heritage is what everyone who came before you, all those past generations, have brought to you. And it helps make you who you are. So some of the things, heritage, can anybody think of what some of the things might be in your heritage? What makes up your heritage? All the things that your family members that came before you brought to you.
Did you learn anything when you brought in your...
My cousin taught me how to care for animals.
Right, you can learn really important skills from your family. That's great. Is anybody else?
My grandfather made me not be afraid of dogs anymore because his former dog, he licked me so much almost every time I was there. He licked me 2 times in a row.
Yeah, and so you said your grandmother taught you not to be afraid of them.
No, my grandpa.
Right. Well, and that's really important because you learned things and you became a stronger person because of that, right?
Yes.
Do you want to share something? Or just me too?
What do you think?
That was me too. Chris.
Chris?
Well, I have a brother, and I put him on the branch, but he doesn't live in my house. He lives in Texas.
But that's okay, right? Because your family can live anywhere. They're all part of your family tree. They're all just as important to you. So my family lives across the country as well, but they're all branches on my family tree. Cool.
My uncle taught me how to play football.
Right, that's wonderful. So sports that you enjoy can come from your family. Some people play sports or watch certain teams. You might like a team that your family likes, and you all root together. Those are all things that are part of your heritage that your family gives. Parker?
My dad taught me how to play piano.
That's wonderful. So you learned a great skill, musical skill. All right, let's go on to the next one and see what are all the different things. So how can we learn about our heritage? So we've got all of these great people in our family. How do we learn about all the things that they know to make ourselves who we are? So let's see what some of the suggestions are. We've talked about some of these before.
Research our genealogy. Now, how can you do that? How can you research your genealogy? Yes.
Look it up on the computer.
Right. That's very good. That's very good.
You can.
Trying to pick somebody. Yes, Sebastian.
You can go to an archive, even then look it up, and go millions of years back.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Very
exactly.
good. Use the archive.
Chris.
You could go to this app called 23andMe.
Right. Yeah. 123andMe. Very good.
That's wonderful. Good job, guys.
Do you get money when people are? I know. I'm just asking. Parker.
That's
very good.
wonderful.
Very
Yes, you can. That's especially important when, like Chris said, some of us have family that don't live in our household or don't live near us, and we don't get to see them in person very often. But you can use computers and use FaceTime or Skype or even just the telephone to talk to them. Really good, guys. I'm very proud.
Very good.
All right, well, let's see what else is it. We can research our genealogy. Somebody mentioned we can use the archives. Do you remember that?
He mentioned the what? He mentioned the archive. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, and
All
what
right,
else?
let's see what else we can do. Ooh, we have a new one. You can practice oral history with the many generations of our family. Now, oral history, does anybody have a guess what oral history is? Sebastian?
It's history of your parents.
It is, but there's something kind of different about it or special. Chris, you know oral history? Do you have a guess?
But what's oral? O-R-A-L. What's that mean?
I was thinking history like that family that has happened in the past and you've never seen before.
That's very
That's
true.
a part-
There's
that's
a
right.
special way that you learn about it.
Cottage?
Yes?
You thought?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, well, this is a clue here. Oral history is when you talk to people. It's a big fancy word for when you talk to people. Can we go to the next slide, please? We like to think of oral history as storytelling. That is the easiest way to think of it. And when you tell stories, for oral history, you're telling basically stories about your family. And so you tell true stories, not fiction stories. I know you've learned in the library the concept of fiction, which is a made-up story. Oral history would be a non-fiction, a true story. And it's stories about your family's traditions, your family's adventures, and your family's memories. And you tell each other those stories to keep them going, so we all remember them, and we hand them down. That's what oral history is. So you might like to tell a story about a special adventure that you had, like if you traveled over spring break and something fun happened, and you tell that story and you keep telling it throughout the year so you can remember that really special time. Or you might have had a holiday where you really had a great time with your family, maybe a Thanksgiving where you all got together and had some special food and relatives came in to visit you, and you keep telling that story because you really want to remember that special holiday time you had with your family. So oral history is about telling all those stories and continuing to tell them so you remember them.
Yep.
Okay?
I have this cruise book that I went on this cruise on spring break only with my mom. Like my whole family split up in half. Like my brother and sister and my dad went to Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Me and my mom went on the cruise, and I still remember all the time. It was like a really fun.
That's excellent.
And
That's
so you
very
have to
good.
keep talking about that, telling people about that, and talk to each other about it, and those will be memories you'll have forever.
I went to Puerto Rico too.
I think Jane was trying to say that she wrote a journal of that
Excellent.
trip and
That's so
brought it
special.
to school and shared it with her family. And
Very
they
good.
sent the journal to the people who weren't on that trip
Oh,
so that
very good.
everyone, so in that way she was sharing her adventure with
That's
her
wonderful.
family.
And
Very
that's another level of oral history, because when you hear the stories and you tell the stories, then you can write the stories down so they stay forever and ever and ever. So then you've already taken the next step, and that's wonderful.
Me and Grandma have took a lot of pictures and put them in a book so we can remember all the fun we had when we had that camp.
That's excellent.
That's another
very
thing.
good.
Besides writing down your stories, you can share pictures of them. And when you talk about pictures, either pictures you've taken, like Connor said that you might be in the picture, or remember how we talked about sitting down and looking at older pictures with your grandparents or the older generations. They can tell you pictures where you weren't even around yet, but they can tell you about things that happened in your family's history beforehand. Just gotta
When I was looking in my basement, I saw this little elephant that my mother had a long time ago, and there was another trip there ago that she had, and it was a doll that lived.
How big is your basement? Oh, it's not a real elephant. Oh, okay. I was like, how did you get a big old elephant in here?
And
Okay.
those were special things to her? Did she share stories
And
with you
there
about them?
was a picture.
Everybody listen. Listen to Skylar.
Because I saw a box and I wondered what it had inside it, and it was a picture, and one was my mother played rugby, and the team was all muddy.
Really? Oh, that's great. So I bet that was a great memory of hers, and she shared that with you. So now that's part of your heritage. She's brought it forward with you. That's really great. Una?
I brought in a dog today my aunt used to own.
How nice. That's nice. Those are all pieces of your family.
Passed it down to me.
that
And
you
my
bring.
cousin passed a lot of things down to me too. All her old dresses and shoes that don't fit her anymore.
That's really great. All right, let's move forward one, and we'll listen to some more stories in just 1 second. So here are all the things. I'm hearing what you guys are saying. So these are all things that are part of your heritage that by listening to the generations that have come before you, these are all things that you get from that. Remember we were trying to brainstorm what might be parts of your heritage? So your language is part of your heritage. Some of us all speak different languages, and that's part of your heritage, what language your family speaks. What types of clothing or styles of clothing you wear, that can be part of your heritage. How you look is sometimes part of your heritage. Do you look like your family members or not? That's part of your heritage. Types of music that you like, those are things that can come from your family, and that's part of your heritage.
Why does it say food?
Types of food. Certain people like certain types of food. Like way back in my heritage, I have German on my side. So sometimes we have sauerkraut at Thanksgiving, and people think that's crazy. But that's a German heritage. We make things called kinklings, which are a special type of German donut. So those are all different types of heritage. People like different types of food sometimes because the generations that came before them bring those foods into your family. Maybe special foods on holidays or foods you eat every single day. And holidays, that's another example. What holidays you celebrate are sometimes part of your heritage. So see, these are like little pieces of a puzzle. If you click one more time, those are all things that come together like pieces of a puzzle and make you who you are. You bring them all with you. Right, all pieces of a puzzle that come together and make you who you are. Okay? Jeffrey, did you have a question?
My mom told me when my brother liked something, it was so funny.
And
We
he might
found
like it because it's part of
videos.
his heritage.
And
Right?
it was so funny. I laughed so hard.
And we laugh with our families. That's another good thing to do. Lauren, did you have something?
And you could also write things in your diaries from when you were a baby and about your family thing or another thing that happened from another time ago.
That's a great idea. Diaries and journals are super special things, and they end up in
And
people's
you don't want
archives.
anybody seeing what's in your diary because it's something secret about the when you were first.
But at some point, but you want to put down really real information so that later on, when you do want people to see it, they know you didn't make stuff up, right? Or you don't have to, because it becomes worth a lot of money sometimes later on.
All right, Hannah, one more.
My aunt's gonna have a baby.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that'll be
you'll
another
have
generation.
on your tree.
Generation. Yes.
It's kind of the same thing, but I have a baby cousin,
Mhm.
and he just got firstborn. He got firstborn 1 year ago because he just turned one.
Wow, it's another generation. Way in here. Oh, no, yes.
Deanna had
Yeah.
Deanna chances.
My mama's
to be the same generation as you.
Right.
Sebastian.
I have a cousin which is a baby, and he's a boy, and his name is Louie,
Excellent.
and he's my cousin.
So that's the same generation as you, right?
And he's from my dad's family.
All right, very good, very good. Okay, this. We have another thing?
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about heritage. Heritage is what's come before us that we draw on to make us who we are. The generations that came before us tell us things and give us things that all come together and make us who we are. There's another word called legacy. And what legacy means basically is what you put into the world going forward. Your legacy is going to be all the elements of your heritage and what you put into the world that you give to the generations that come after you. Because believe it or not, you may not believe it now, but one day you could be a parent, or you could be a great-grandparent, or a great-great-grandparent even. And so your legacy is going to be what comes after you. So right now you might see yourself as this one of these people down here, the littler guys or girls. But one day you might be this one. And you might have a family here. And that will be your legacy. And you want to make sure that you pass down those elements of your heritage to them. So you share the oral history. You share the stories. You share the artifacts. You share the documents, you share the things that make up your personal archives that we talked about, and you share your family tree, your genealogy, the information that you know. You share it with all the branches, the ones that came before you and the ones that come after you.
Next. And so what this all means is just that with every part the person is in your family, whether it's your godparent, whether it's your cousin, whether it's your stepbrother, or if it's this is a special family friend, who's your uncle or your aunt or your baby brother, all these people are a part of your family, which makes them a part of your legacy because they probably tell you something that they did, or you need to ask them something about what they did, which you might like to do. Like this whole day you've been like playing with that little band around your wrist and something like that. Now that might be something you might show somebody else. You might show your sister, or you might show a cousin or something. See, do you have any cousins, or either? See, you could show like a baby cousin or something like that you do that, because and that'll be part of your legacy. And see, you have a Kansas City Chiefs shirt on, which I have no idea why. But you have a Kansas City shirt on. And see, you might show somebody else. You go to Kansas City?
This is mom, right? Your mom grow up in near there?
Oh, wow, my uncle used to live there, and my cousin lives there right now. Do you know David Haley? He mentioned your name just the other day. No, but see, you've got a Kansas City Chiefs shirt on, so see, that's something that you may pass along to somebody else. And what's up, dude? You've got that T-shirt on that says, "What's up, dude?" You might pass that on to somebody else. You know, all these different things. There's like, look at all these Batman shirts here. There's one Batman shirt here that's green, and your Batman shirt is sort of gray. See, there's all these different things that you guys have on right now, which you might pass on to somebody else. That's great. See, all these things that you guys have today, they might be something that you pass on to somebody else, and because you've been taking pictures and all, and whatever your grandparents or whoever you have coming next week do, whatever the people who come here next week do, they're going to be showing you things that you might do yourselves in the future. That's going to be part of your own legacy. And that's part of what all these different things that we've come back here to show you is all about. And it's all different. That's what all these different hands are showing you, that we all share so many different things that make up our families. And they make up the 3 words that we talked about in this whole time. And what are those 3 words again? Oh, is that how you say it? Genealogy. And what's the other word? And what's the big word we learned today? Generation.
These sailors been very patient.
Oh, very good.
something that they'll keep and be special, and they'll save, and that'll be part of their personal archive. So when you all visit next week with your special friends, your grandparents, whoever's coming to be with you, you're going to do a project with them, do a little bit of oral history, you're going to learn some things about them, and that's something you're going to take forward. But the big message, and I think what Chris was really able to hit at, is the more we share about ourselves and all the different things that make up our heritage, the more we figure out that we're all the same. We might have differences, but we all have things that are special to us. They just shared some heritage and found out they have a Kansas City connection. Who would have known that? So it's so special for us to share these stories because then it makes us appreciate each other for the differences, but the fact that we are all the same. We all have families that are special to us, that have shared things that make us who we are. So we hope that's what you take away from what we've been able to bring you about why genealogy and archives and our generations are so important, that we have to honor them and respect them, but most especially share all that information.
Okay, you know what? I think, is that it?
That's it.
I think that's it. So you know what happens when you finish a presentation that's really good? You give the people who get it a standing ovation. So you guys stand up. And now you clap for us.